Hello, and welcome to Frenchtown School's webinar on standards-based report cards. This webinar is focused for parents whose children are in grades kindergarten through 5th grade. The goal of this webinar is to educate you on reading and understanding your child's report card. If at the end of this webinar you have questions, please feel free to contact your child's teacher or the main office. At this time, I would recommend having your child's report card in front of you so that you can refer to it as we move through the slides. Let's start with an understanding of standards-based grading. Standards-based grading measures a child's mastery of a standard or skill against an evaluation scale. Teachers will collect pieces of evidence as the marking period moves forward. This evidence is then scored using the rating scale. Schools have adopted a variety of rating scales. Our scale is letter-based on the following letters. E is for exceeds the standard, M is for mastery of the standard, A is for approaching the standard, and B is for below the standard. This scale can be found at the top of your child's report card along with a detailed definition for each letter. NA is also on our scale. That is used for standards that a teacher may have not assessed yet. Standards-based grading gives parents a much more accurate, consistent, and meaningful look at their child's progress based on the standards. If you look at your child's report cards, the standards can be located underneath the headings Reading, Writing, Math, Science, Social Studies, and Speaking and Listening. Standards-based grading report cards are different than regular transcript grades because they are aligned to the Common Core standards. In addition, standards-based grading measures your child's development over a period of time and eliminates one-shot grading. One-shot grading is when an assessment is given to a student one time to demonstrate their level of skill for a standard. So for example, if a teacher assigns a test on Tuesday at 10 a.m. and uses that one test to be the only piece of evidence for assessing that child against the specific standard. In contrast, when using standards-based grading, the teacher would be creating multiple pieces of evidence to show the student's level at a particular standard and hopefully would be showing that growth towards mastery. Frenchtown report cards for kindergarten through 5th grade use the following key for their standards portion. In the following slides, we'll look at each of these indicators and their specific definitions. As we work through these different standards, I'm going to compare them to a fun task that many children do with their parents, which is baking. Let's pretend for this exercise that the standard we are assessing our child at is baking cupcakes, and we give them all of the ingredients to get started. Let's first look at E, or exceeding the standard. In order to achieve an E on a standard, a child would have gone above and beyond what the particular standard is asking them to do, and they would have done this consistently over time. If you think about the example of a child being given the baking ingredients to make a cupcake, and the standards we are assessing is their ability to make cupcakes. The child that achieved an E on this standard has decided to do something completely different and makes a cake instead. On their cake, they might have candles, decorations, they might even have words or maybe this phrase, happy birthday. This student went above and beyond the directions and what was asked of them. M is the indicator that speaks to a student being right on grade level. If a child's report card contains M's, this means that they are performing at grade level for that particular standard at this time. You may notice that under the heading of math and reading, your child might have M's along with other letters. This is okay. This means that they have mastered some of the standards attributed to that particular subject, but may need more time to practice their other skills. In the cake analogy, the student receiving the M would have used all the ingredients given to bake the cupcakes, and the cupcakes would have been edible. This means that the child understood the directions, was able to follow them independently, and performed exactly as expected. Since learning occurs for individuals on a continuum, meaning that we all do not learn at the same time, in the same way, nor at the same pace, there are times when a student needs more practice, exposure, and time with certain standards. I am sure that we can all remember ourselves being a learner and having to focus our attention more directly at certain areas of the curriculum than others. Approaching a standard means that the child sometimes is able to perform what is asked of them, but it is on an inconsistent basis. Oftentimes, this child needs teacher help or prompting to complete the assignment independently. In our cake analogy, a child earning an A would have all of the materials ready for the cupcakes, but would need guidance from an adult to get started and to see the cupcakes through to the end of the baking process. If your child has standards marked as an A for this first marking period, understand that this is normal. Our concerns would grow if moving through the second and third marking period, we were still seeing A's on the report card. Lastly, we have the evaluation of B, or below the standard. This means that your child would not be achieving grade level expectations for that particular standard at this time. Often, the child would need considerable help from the teacher to complete the activity independently. In the cupcake example, the child would have all of the materials to bake the cupcakes, but would not know what to do with them, and would obviously need parents' help and guidance. If your child had B's on the report card for first marking period, understand that learning is a growing process, and as your child has new experiences with the standards, that B may grow to be an A and eventually an M. If you are concerned about your child's growth at any point, please contact your child's teacher. On our report card, we also have NA standards. This is an option that teachers have because given time constraints and a packed day, the students may not have been exposed to certain standards throughout the marking period. However, the standards will be assessed before the end of the year. I want to thank you for listening to the Frenchtown Schools webinar on standards-based grading. At Frenchtown, we are committed to providing a comprehensive education for all of our students. Please contact your child's teacher or the main office if you have additional questions.